All right, everyone. Everyone is buzzing once again about Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. I'm really not, because I don't think she's going to outlast this current paradigm. Like, I think she's a symptom rather than a main agent of the current paradigm shift within politics within the United States. I think that she's just sort of along for the ride short term, and it'll be sort of like the Tea Party. The Tea Party comes, everyone's talking about it for a couple of years, very powerful, sort of affects the country, but it doesn't leave anything lasting behind because of the fact that it's, in some cases, too rabid, too far beyond the then current paradigm. What ended up happening is it shifted the Overton window very slightly and then basically fell apart within a half a decade. I think that she does the same. The sort of the Bernie bro socialist stuff probably flails around for the next half decade or so and then peters out, because Sanders eventually dies because he's fucking old. He's almost 80. Cortez probably doesn't get reelected. At this point, she's making too many errors, I think, and one of the big errors is the other day she decided to attack a bunch of congressional Democrats. It's like, one thing you can do to piss off all of the more strategically minded neoliberals, which have 99% of the money within the Democratic Party and control everything. They control the DNC, Pelosi's one of them, Schumer's one of them. They control everything. If you want to piss them off, just lessen their chances of doing well in the subsequent election. Cortez coming out and saying, based on the gun control bill, what happened is that the Republicans, in order to basically poison the Democrats' gun control bill, they wanted to insert language that would allow ICE to be involved, like with regards to somebody comes up and tries to buy a weapon. During a background check, it's found that they're illegal. That shows up for ICE. They can get detained and so forth. Basically an anti-illegal immigration maneuver. Now, some Democrats actually supported that. About 20 moderate Democrats signed on because, I don't support any additional gun control. I don't support universal background checks. I think the government should take a hands-off approach. We do not have a gun crime problem in the United States. It's basically a think of the children sort of swing for anti-constitutionalist legislation. It's not necessary. If anything, we should repeal existing gun control. But if you are going to attempt to push such a bill, the fact that there would be reluctance among most Democrats to sign on to the proposal that if someone is in here in the country illegally, tries to purchase a weapon, that should probably come up on ICE's computers, that this person is potentially a fucking threat. I think it's hilarious that someone like Cortez would oppose that. I think that would be wildly popular. So the Democrats actually finding an element of gun control they don't support, but only because it's specifically about illegal immigrants potentially going and massacring people or doing cartel violence or something. That is very, very telling. And that's exactly why. So attempting to swing that on the public and explain why they have such views is going to be very difficult for them. So Cortez comes out and says, well, I'm going to keep a list of all all of you. If you don't get in line and vote the way I want you to vote, basically. She's trying to be powerful, I guess. If you don't vote the way I want you to vote, we're going to have a list and we'll make sure that you get primaried by people that are on left. So basically, she wants to sweep out all the moderates of her party. There are so many problems with this strategy. Let me think of a few. The first problem is that many of those moderate Democrats are moderate specifically because they're from moderate areas of the country in which they are potentially vulnerable towards Republicans. If Cortez wants to cause the Democratic Party to vastly lose control of the House of Representatives, this is the easiest way to do it. Yeah, primary them. Try to get a bunch of really far left people in positions in states that are in some cases red. That will go really well. By the way, it plays right into Trump's strategy. Trump's strategy at the moment is to let people like AOC talk too much, say stupid shit like the Green New Deal with farting cows and eliminating 90% of cars and getting rid of transatlantic flight in favor of fucking ocean bottom trains and crazy shit like that. His idea is just, well, I'm going to let him talk. This is going to be great for making ads during the campaign. I would be surprised if he doesn't tweet about this. And also, it doesn't make sense because Cortez is a newcomer. She's not a particularly powerful politician. The fact that she has a big audience is primarily related to the fact that she happens to be the youngest person in Congress, number one, and she's tech literate, number two. Also, the media fawns over her. But the thing is, the mainstream media has never been exciting or cool or represents the youth. They represent what is non-organic. They're trying to, it's like every other Disney star. They take some kid who has mediocre talent, can kind of sing and kind of dance and kind of looks cool for the cameras, I guess, and says rad and tubular, and they put him on a show for a couple seasons, make him the big thing and sell the toys and shit, bilk everyone, underpay the star, and then they cut him loose. That's what the Democrats are trying to use Cortez, I think, for a little star power, to have a little bit of charisma and youth injected into a party where the average age of someone in the Senate is like, what, 65 fucking years old? For the House, it's in like 58, 59 or something. So she stands out like a sore thumb in all the right ways in that context. They're going to try to jettison her. The thing is, I think she's going to try to take the party down with her. She does not yet realize the Democrats are not a socialistic party per se. They pretend to be. They pay lip service to leftist issues, but at the end of the day, they're controlled by a bunch of billion-dollar corporations. They're never going to reform the financial system. Like when Bernie comes out. He says, whoa, Citizens United. Dude, politicians have been talking about Citizens United since Citizens United became a SCOTUS decision. They have done butt-fuck nothing. Democrats did nothing about it. Obama talked about it briefly on the campaign trail, did nothing about it once elected, even when he had Democrats controlling the House and Senate. He had carte blanche to get rid of Citizens United, put the genie back in the bottle, and did butt-fuck nothing. And if President Sanders would do nothing, and Cortez will do nothing. In fact, the fact that she's a corporate socialist means she probably supports Citizens United. But she's going to pretend like she doesn't. Now she's embroiled in something where apparently she's trying to pay her chief of staff like just under the threshold where he would have to report like stock trading and gifts and things like that so that he can get paid under the table. And they're thinking it might be, time for a corruption probe. Her career might be over before it begins. She is a one-term representative, a junior representative with no prior political experience, and yet she's acting like she's the lord of a political party. She's trying to pretend that she's in charge. It just comes off as tyrannical, though. And then, like the other day with the Green New Deal, trying to sucker people into a deal that she had to, actually pinch off of her website the day after its initial launch. Oh, no, this was just a beta version, or this wasn't the final draft, so don't read too much into the crazy things that are in there, like talking about how people who are unwilling to work should be able to get, pensions from the government. Don't look too much into wanting to eliminate beef, or, no, I just meant that people should eat fewer hamburgers. It's gaslighting. She went back and she tried to rephrase everything that she had initially said and proposed. It was a form of A/B testing. Trust me, she found what was popular, what was unpopular. She did a Trump move. It kind of worked, although it got her so much ire from the centrists. I think she's basically cast herself permanently as just a far-left lunatic. She comes out and she says, well, if you go to, we're in charge right now. If you're in charge, you can put forth a proposal. It's like, no, you're not in charge. The Republicans run the White House and the Senate. The socialists don't run the DNC. The DNC is run by a bunch of billionaire crooks that are, oddly enough, even though they're crooked, better than socialists are. Oddly enough, you're so far out to fucking left field. For a while there, I was like, well, the progressives at least mean well, and so they're a little better than the neoliberals, even if they're wonky and have weird ideas. No, not anymore. Not if you're being led by a crook like Cortez. I guarantee you she's already corrupt. She doesn't give a fuck about the poor. She doesn't give a fuck about the low. She gives a fuck about her career. Everything she's done while in office is setting herself up to try to be some sort of maverick leader within the Democratic Party, which she wants to take control of, turn into a far-left party in order to make people more poor and reliant on government. That's really what it's... Do you honestly think she gives a fuck about you? Well then, God bless you for being naive. What a moron. She's already gotten smacked down by Pelosi once. You can't support both Pelosi and AOC. Now, of course, Pelosi's like, ancient and represents corporations and stuff. Oddly enough, that's a better Democratic Party than what Cortez is suggesting. Or Bernie Sanders. I'm his fellow Vermonter, supposedly a constituent. Dude, this state, you realize that the top marginal tax rate in this state is like 9%, right? You realize that this state has systemic problems, correct? Mainly because of policies championed by people like Sanders. Dude, the governor of this state doesn't fucking blink unless he gets permission from Bernie Sanders. He's a total sellout. The same was true of Shumlin. Shumlin sucked on Bernie Sanders' asshole every day that he was a fucking governor. Begged for his pardon if he did anything wrong. They are completely subservient to him because he's the only Vermonter with that kind of federal platform, at least in the legal sense. There are a handful of Vermonters, raising my hand here, who have good-sized audiences, but, I'm not in politics and don't want to be. Bernie Sanders does, though. He's been in politics his whole life because he can't do anything productive. He tried a few times to try to do, like, what, carpentry and cleaning and shit. He failed. He got fired every single time. He's a Brooklyn-born child of decent middle-class privilege. A goofball. He's not even from the state, and he's managed to take socialism from his fucking poetic textbooks back in the 60s and 70s hippie era and project that off as though it's a viable national strategy for the United States. I think he's nuts. And Cortez is even crazier. And, you know, some of these people are just nuts. You know, there is when you've got hundreds of people in these positions, like in the House, the Senate and stuff, there is a possibility that occasionally you get someone that's in that position that's just a fucking loser. Bernie Sanders comes to mind. I don't care how popular he is. Dude, his free ice cream, I care about people. I'm just sort of the harmless town drunk shtick got old a long time ago. Don't be suckered in by it because it's literally nothing more than propaganda. That's about all. Peace out.